42 Pop Hotel, Galveston Tower, parallel taxiway 36, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, parallel taxiway 36.
Wind 31014, gust 23.
What's up, you guys? Today we're here in the Galveston Control Tower. I talk to you guys all the time whenever I fly the biplane out here, so it's put a face to the voice here. I'm here with Ron, and he's going to give us a tour.
And likewise, I put a face to your voice too.
Met
this is
before.
the first time we met.
I know Tower Steve. I always call him Tower Steve, but I know Tower Steve because we're always going back and forth, joshing over the radio. It's a good time. So.
Yeah, he likes to visit.
Oh yeah, it's a great time. On this episode of Flying Doodles, we put faces behind the voices that you hear every day at your local Class Delta control tower. Sometimes pilots can find air traffic control intimidating. You'll find that they're real people, just like you and me. This was a very exciting Flying Doodles episode to make, and we're very grateful to the air traffic controllers in Galveston for allowing us to film their facility.
I started in high school. I started an aviation program in local community college in Iowa. I got my CFI there in 1982 when I started. In 83 is when, well actually 81 is when Reagan fired all the controllers. I don't know if you heard about that, PACO. And so that made an opportunity for us. I was a flight instructor for a summer, got about 1,000 hours of flying time. And then I took the written test for air traffic control. Went to my first approach control, thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And so flying, I said goodbye to flying. I went to the academy, the FAA Academy in Oklahoma City in 1983. From there, graduated, went to Shreveport, Louisiana, where I worked for 4 years. Then I got selected to San Antonio, Texas. Went down there in 87, and then from there, transferred to Houston approach control in 94, and I retired out of there in 2018. Been retired for about 5 years, came back to work about a year ago with RVA, and got here to Galveston. I worked a year in Georgetown Tower, and a real busy little airport over there, and then here in Galveston since this September. So what's that, 5 months? See, I worked in the towers and radar, and we did a lot of radar only in Houston. So I started in a control tower, much like this, and so you're responsible for the runways and basically a 4-mile radius around the airport, up to whatever 2,000 feet, 1,500 feet, whatever. And so you only worked airplanes that are coming into land or when they're clearing for takeoff, and then you just separate those from the other airplanes that are coming into land or waiting to take off. So that's the difference. In radar, you're sequencing several airplanes to the runway to follow each other. And when you work in departures, you're taking all the departures off, say the big airport, all going north, you put them in trail, and you sequence them with other airplanes off other airports. So that's the two differences. Well, we have a limited radar that it's called the STARS, Standard Terminal Arrival System, and we get that information from Houston. And we get limited information, but we can make what we call handoffs to and from Houston approach control. And so when they have jets coming in, or even little airplanes, they hand them off to us. And then when we have one departing, we have to talk to them to get IFR releases. And so that's how that interacts. And so we use that radar. But we can work without that. It changes the way we work the system. And then we work a lot of the PHI helicopters here. And so the same thing, we get releases with them, but they always go offshore. They're taking people to work off on the oil rigs offshore. And then we have some of the helicopters that work in the area. Then of course we have your operation, the bi-wing, that give rides around Galveston Island. But the main thing we like about here is just the proximity to the water. It's beautiful, and it's a nice place to work. Not too busy, but enough to keep you excited once in a while. For me, I was interested in playing video games when I was a kid, and when I went to the first radar area, I was like, this is really cool. It's a video game. And so you got to be able to be really fast, think quickly, and do 2 or 3 different things at a time. So you should be able to be multitask oriented person. So if you're just into numbers or something like that, you may not. So I think someone who could, play video games, interested in aviation, airplanes, any kind of aviation knowledge or excitement, that would be something that would draw you to it. I had one airplane just last year over at Georgetown. A little Bonanza came in. We knew the guy. He was friends with the guy who was working ground. I was working local. And the last second, he says, 365 Bravo, engine failure. I'm like, did I just hear engine failure? I look out where he's supposed to be short final, and I don't see him. We look around. We stop all operations at the airport. We don't know where it's at. We don't see smoke, so we're expecting if he crashed, we'd see smoke, so we're hoping that he was okay. Well, so the fire trucks went out, and we were all nervous as heck, and pretty soon we got a call. No, 3 survivors. What had happened, he crashed a Bonanza into the top of a house, and it crashed into the roof. They ended up walking down through the attic stairs and came out. They were all fine, so it was a pretty amazing story. So that's the one thing that's happened recently. I've had several other incidents where airplanes were in the clouds and lose, navigation and things like that. And we vectored them to find VFR conditions. But other than that, it was pretty uneventful. Just a lot of, busy stuff, a lot of fun activity. So this is what we call the NIDS. I think that stands for New Informational Display System. And as you can see, it gives us all kinds of information. We have the weather, obviously, here at Galveston. And we can put in what runway we're using, the RNAV 36 right now. And then we can get information about other airports in the Houston area, Houston, Hobby, Bush Airport, Sugar Land, Beaumont, and Ellington Field. Unfortunately, our connection to there has failed, so that's why you see the X's, or normally we'd have their weather sequence in that area. Over here, this is specific to Galveston. This is our wind indicator, wind now 300/12, gust 23. And then that's the altimeter setting, 3005. And then this is our runways in use. We're using RNAV 36. And we have, if there's any PIREPs, we put them in there. And here's the notes. Runway 1432 is closed. And then no 14 approaches per the I-90, which stands for the Houston Approach Control. At the bottom here, we have all kinds of documents that we can use. Letters of agreement with Galveston and Houston. And then hobby, weather, just all kinds of flow control information, frequencies, sunrise, sunset, which we keep up there at all times. So we always can tell when we need to turn the rotating beacon on. Excuse me. Segments, NOTAMs, center weather advisories, airport diagram, approach plates. This is a nice one. So I can push that with my finger and I can bring up the Galveston approach. Let's say you got somebody coming in on the ILS to 14, I'll push that and I can look out there and I can even squeeze in and see what the name of the fixes are. So if he says, hey, we're coming in and blah, 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 so it's a quick look for that information. So that's basically, and then when I want to come back, I just push the home button and it brings us right back. This is our information. The ASOS is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Airport Service Observation. And this is the computer that gives us that data. And it's the system that you see out on the airport. It's got all the little whirly birds and stuff. Where's it at, Steve? I'm kind of new here, so I'm not sure where it's over there. Okay, see the red and white little box there? That's where the sensors are. And it tells us visibility, wind, the wind direction, altimeter, and it has an anemometer or whatever it's called that looks straight up and it can tell you what the cloud heights are. It measures with lasers or something. Gotcha. But this is how we get that data. So right here, METAR is the name of it. KGLS, that's us, Galveston. This is the time, the 10th at 1851 Zulu. There's the wind again. There's the ceiling, broken 1,800.
Yeah, so it's the same METARs that we get like on our ForeFlight or any of our
5,500 overcast. This is where it originates. And when it comes here, then it gets sent out to everywhere from this equipment. So we have a way we sign on and we can send it out during the day. You notice it changes during the day versus at night. At night, when we leave, we send it out so it gives you 1 minute. Every minute it's new. Right. Where when we're doing it, it's every hour. We get an hour. Like when we're open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Gotcha. Cool. So this is all of our weather stuff, and our plates and everything else.
Weather and information.
Cool. So what are we finding now? Tell me a little bit about this contraption right here.
Okay, these are we don't ever use them. So these are some information. These are strip holders at busier facilities. They'll take a strip and they'll write the information on it about the airplane. And like here's one right here with information. It says LTA 850, that's a type aircraft. That's lift 850. and they fly the DA-40s over here. And then you'd have, all these boxes have different information in them. I could get you a better explanation with them filled out to give you better.
Well, just was curious what they are.
Okay, yeah. So the beacon code would be there, the altitude, and then when you do a flight plan, it tells them you where they're going, and you would just look at that. And then these little boxes, we put checks on who's been given their clearance and things like that. So
now, do you have an electronic version of that?
they do at the big airports, but
Okay.
we don't have that here.
Gotcha.
And we just use the strips loose like this. We'll write down the information. And
So maybe if you're having like a real busy day, then you'll kind of use those if you got a lot
like I
of
said, in
people.
busier facilities, they have one person working what they call clearance delivery, and he'll fill out all the information, and then he'll put it in a little thing that slides down to the ground control. Ground control will look at it, and then he'll work it, and then give it to the local controller, which is tower controller.
Yeah.
And so one strip goes to 3 different people, and so if you put it in that little thing, it doesn't fall on the floor like that, you know.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to pick up, right?
Right.
This is what our communication system. So this has our ground control frequency. We can key it up by pushing the button there and light up. Right now the ground frequency is unkeyed. So if I do that, the ground control. So on this position right now, we're transmitting on both ground and tower. We call tower local, but you guys call it tower 120.57.
Right.
But we just call it local. So those two frequencies, this right here, when I key this mic, I transmit it on both ground and local at the same time.
Okay. So when I call you guys up, a lot of times I just skip ground because you always say just stay on tower.
Yeah,
So that
but-
means you're just transmitting on this frequency. When I call you,
Yeah.
you're gonna.
But if you were on ground, we wouldn't know. It sounds the same.
Okay.
So if you called us on ground, we'd think you're on tower.
Okay.
So, and that's why 90%.
That's what I love about this airport is I don't ever have to use ground. It's kind of nice.
90% of the time, we're just one person here.
Nice.
Because
nice.
yeah, that's how we are. And then this is how we can call approach controllers. We can call that I-90 data. We use that a lot. Right now it's out of service because we get rain here. Our systems go out, so we have to use the telephone lines there
Gotcha.
with the actual phone. But then there's all kinds of things we can do here. We can call the supervisor at Houston Approach. We can call flight data up there. And what we do, we get the flight plans from them. So they have a printer that prints out on one of these, the flight plan information. And then since we don't have that here, we have to get it through the phone. And then we just scribble down all the numbers that we give to the pilots that are IFR. And so that's how they get their information. We do it through Houston Approach.
Very cool. So what about these light up keys over here? What's going on with those?
Okay, this is the STARS system. We call STARS System Terminal Automated something or other. But it's a keyboard that we put the information in. So, what do you call yourselves when you fly?
I call myself Waco 43,000.
Okay, well, let's put that in. Waco 4300. Okay, hold on. Since Waco, it only hold, I'll put WAC 43,000. So if you called me and said, hey, Tower Waco 43,000 is coming in, and I would push this button. I'll keep screwing it up. Hold on. Not a good Waco.
There you go.
43. Oh, you got one for me? I'd say Waco 43,000, WAC. I'd give you a squawk code, squawk 5336.
Okay.
And then when you put that in your transponder, it goes from my memory here, and it'll track right over to your airplane there, and it'll track you around. A lot of times we don't give it to you because we know who you are.
Right.
So we don't even do it. But let's say we had a bunch of things going on, and I needed to track you to see your position. I'd give you that beacon code, and then it would track you until you landed, and then it would fall off.
Now, I've always wondered this. Where do you get those codes from? Are they
The
randomly
computer
generated? Or?
generates those numbers.
Okay. I always
Yeah.
thought y'all just pulled one out of your butt.
We
and
can
were like,
assign that to you. You could, let's say, if you were doing a lot of stuff, we could give you a discrete code that would always tag up when you get airborne.
Okay, very
Like,
cool.
yeah, we
So
do
we'd have
that with the
same
jump. A jump 53 Delta, he's
Yeah.
got a code that
Okay.
automatically tags up when he gets airborne.
Very cool.
And then we hand him off to
really
approach
interesting.
control. Yeah. And then this is the cool stuff. So this is what I like showing people. So this right here, see that little box? That's where the airplane is, okay?
Okay.
See, there's another little box there. Now, to find out who that is, I can slew to that and hit enter, and it says, that's Coast Guard. See it? C6534?
Yeah.
Coast Guard 6534. He is squawking VFR 1200. That's what's on top. His altitude is 600 feet. That's what. That was him calling. And he's at 600 feet. That's what the 006 stands for. And then his ground speed is 90 knots, 09.
Okay.
Get that?
Yep.
All right, this one up here is TBM. He's a November 363 Echo Alpha. The airplane is right under that little B there. Do you see that?
Yeah.
B is the position symbol at Houston Approach that's talking to him right now. We call that the Sandjack position, or the frequency 134.45. And then see the little the marks behind him?
Yeah.
That's his tail, or the tracking line. So and that tells you kind of where he's going. We also have a way we can put little arrows in the front. Like when I work in the tower here, I'll have little arrows in the front so I can tell when the guy's turning. So we have little things like that we can put on.
Very cool.
He's going to TME. See that right there? Yeah. And he's at 10,000 feet. That's what the numbers there, 100 stand for. And he's doing 16, which is how fast?
So 160?
Yeah,
160
knots. Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. And then this one here's the guy. He's got in the pattern just off. And I can also, another way I can look at these, I push this button here, and look, it tells me who everybody is. He's 53600. And then, see this one over here? Mm-hmm. That's 20 Whiskey Hotel. That's a helicopter. He comes off there a lot of times, West Wind 20 Whiskey Hotel, and he comes down here and goes offshore.
Gotcha.
A lot of times. So this is our airspace, that little dotted line. We own that airspace up to 1,500 feet, and above that is owned by Houston Approach, and that's about 4.5 mile radius? 4.2 or 5, I forget.
I think it's 5.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention in Galveston because you guys are always so chill with me.
Anyway, I watch the line, but that's the Delta airspace.
Okay. Now, if you had the system go down, what's y'all's backup?
We don't have one.
Okay.
That's it.
Binoculars. That's it. Okay.
Binoculars. Yeah.
Has that system ever gone down before?
Oh yeah. The other morning we came in and it said system failure. So then you're just using the binoculars and.
Yeah.
And,
I think I've heard you guys say radar down before.
Yeah, we have to just. Inner left downward report a mile east, that kind of stuff.
See and avoid.
Look out and, look for traffic to follow if there is somebody else.
And then over here, that's just the redundant system. We already talked about that,
Yep,
right?
This is all the same thing, and then that's our security system over there.
Have you had to use light signals here before?
Not. I think one time I had a guy that was Nordo that we shot him a green, solid green.
Can you show me the light gun?
Certainly.
Okay. I think I've gotten light signals. I had a call before I was in a Cub that had no radio, and I got it once. But
yeah, it's this is like they used to hang from the ceiling.
Yeah.
But I could reach them. So here you go.
Oh wow.
So then there's a button here you can change the color, white and then green.
Green, cool. How far away can you see those from? I guess.
You could probably 2 or 3 miles.
Yeah. That's cool.
And we bring up the screens or the shades.
Yeah.
Because that'll you want to get the full amount of light to the pilot, but they can see it probably 3 or 4 miles out.
Wow. It didn't look that bright.
It doesn't, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's directed right on them.
All right, Ron. Well, thank you so much for showing me through everything today. It was pretty cool to get I know as pilots, a lot of times it's smoke and mirrors and all that. I remember when I first started flying, I was so scared of the tower, but coming up here, it really kind of demystifies everything.
Like you said, you want an outtake. I think that's the one thing I'd like to tell pilots is don't be afraid to call air traffic controllers, especially if you're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're here to help you guys. So I did a lot of outreach programs with pilots when I was at Houston, and they all really enjoyed it. And it gives a face to the voice,
Absolutely.
And so, we're really people, and sometimes controllers can be kind of grouchy and barky.
Oh, sure. I've certainly, I compare, like, anytime I go to a different Delta, like, y'all are the standard for me, because you're just great.
Yeah.
And anytime I get, like, an asshole controller.
They can be.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they're out
I'm
there.
like, man, you don't compare to the guys I got back home. So.
But, again, if you're lost, ask for help.
Yeah.
If the engine quits, squawk 7700 and yell Mayday. Because if you squawk 7700, you're going to get everybody's attention quickly.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. If you're Nordo 7600, and then then we'll know, okay, she's Nordo.
Yeah.
And then our computer will beep at us if you. But yeah, that's the thing. Just don't be afraid to ask for help if you're a pilot in distress. And if you didn't hear something right, be sure to clarify. Be sure to read back, hold short instructions. There's lots of things, but just don't be afraid. If you're not sure of something, don't just sit there and think, I think he said this. No, clarify.
Yeah.
What you want, we all want everybody to be on the same page.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed kind of getting a bird's eye view into an air traffic control tower, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much. It was a privilege. I really appreciate it.
Great having you.
We've started recording some behind-the-scenes footage for how we make these videos. If you're interested in that, you can look down for the link in the description and join our Patreon. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.